of February 2024 be approved. Those in support of the motion as moved say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Announcement. The names of the following senators were inadvertently omitted from the list announced yesterday of the Constitution Review Committee. Senator Tokunbo Abiru, Lagos State. Senator Issa Jibrin of Kogi State. Distinguished colleagues, in an arrangement facilitated by the clerk to the National Assembly, the Parliamentary Friendship Group of the Saudi Arabian Advisory Council, which is equivalent of our parliament, will pay a courtesy visit to the Senate today, Thursday, 15 February 2024 at 2:30 p.m. This will be in the Senate President's Conference Room 301. All distinguished senators and leaders are invited. Yes, petition.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Ositangu. I represent the good people of Enugu West. Mr. President, the petition is from a patriotic Nigerian, Sunday Chijokabo, from Enugu State, who retired as a DSP in the Nigerian police force. Sondabo is seeking the assistance of this hallowed chamber to appeal to the Nigerian police to pay him accumulated arrears of his salary before he retired. He is sick and is due for an emergency operation. He has not in any way sought any legal action. He is hoping that this hallowed chamber will come to his assistance. Mr. President, if you permit me, I'll lay the petition for further consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please proceed to lay.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes, the committee, the petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions to report back to the chambers within 2 weeks. Yes, dismissed Senator Ned Nwoko.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Ned Nwoko, representing the good people of Delta North, otherwise known as Anioma of Delta State. Mr. President, I spoke briefly with you this morning about the loss of the Asaba of Asaba, that is the king of Asaba, Professor Joseph Chike Edozien, who died a few days ago. And I do have a tribute on his behalf. If I am allowed to proceed, Mr. President, I will do so.
Okay, so are you coming under
Order.
personal explanation or?
Well, I would want some contributions,
Yes?
so I would rather do it under 41 and 51.
Going under order 42.
Is that well? I could do it under 42. Yes, if you so direct, Mr. President. Okay. Do I go ahead, Mr. President? Under order 42.
Under
Order 42, if you so direct.
it's left to you, but if you are coming under order 41 or whatever, I know 50.
I would have
51.
preferred 41, 51 because I would want my colleagues to make a contribution on this great.
It's left to you.
Okay, well, order 41, the matter of discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. 51 also says, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. So if you do...
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Nwoko actually brought this issue to me, and I felt it was very national in nature. And if it pleases the Senate, I will put the question. Is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to come under order 41 and 51 to present this tribute to the entirety of Nigerians? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Again, my name is Senator Ned Nwoko, representing the good people of Delta North. Today, I arise to pay a heartfelt tribute to a towering figure, a beacon of wisdom and a cherished leader, Asaba Professor Joseph Chike Edozian, a luminary whose journey from early beginnings to esteemed leadership serves as a beacon of inspiration for us all. Born on July 28, 1925, Asaba Edozian's story is one of academic excellence and notable achievements. His educational journey began at the Catholic school in Warri, followed by the Christ the King College, CKC Onitsha, and Higher College in Yaba, Lagos. In 1944, he pursued higher education at the University College, Dublin, Ireland, where he earned multiple degrees with honors, including a Bachelor of Science, Master of Science, and Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery. After departing Nigeria in 1967, Asaba Edozian became a professor of nutrition at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the United States. In 1971, he assumed the role of professor and head of the Department of Nutrition at the University of North Carolina, where he served for 20 years, leaving an indelible mark on the field of nutrition and public health. As a scholar, Asaba Edozian made significant contributions to the field of medicine, serving as a lecturer in clinical biochemistry at Middlesex Hospital Medical School, University of London, and later as a senior lecturer in clinical pathology at the University College, Ibadan. In 1961, he achieved the milestone of becoming a professor in chemical pathology solidifying his place as a trailblazer in academia. His influence extended beyond academia, as evidenced by his pivotal role in establishing the University of Benin and his dedicated service as the chairman of the governing board of the National Institute of Medical Research, Yaba, Lagos. In 2003, he was honored with the National Honor of Commander of the Federal Republic of by President Olusegun Obasanjo, highlighting his significant contributions to Nigerian affairs. As the 13th Asaba of Asaba, Asaba Edozian demonstrated unwavering commitment to his people and the preservation of tradition and culture. He also served as Chancellor of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, and the Federal University, Gashuau. Distinguished colleagues, Asaba Professor Joseph Chike Edozian will be remembered for numerous remarkable qualities as a distinguished academic and a beacon in the field of medicine, sought after by prestigious institutions worldwide. As a patriot who loves his country and, in spite of his sojourn abroad, did not hesitate to render service to his dear nation. As a steadfast symbol of the traditional institution, embodying its values with unwavering dedication. As a recipient of national honors, recognizing his outstanding contributions to society. Above all, as a compassionate, fair, and progressive traditional ruler, leaving a lasting legacy of integrity and leadership. In remembrance of Asaba's legacy, I urge that we observe a moment of silence in recognition of his profound impact on our nation and his enduring contributions. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Danjuma Goje, representing Gombe Central. Mr. President, I stand to support and contribute to the story of this great gentleman, academician, decentralized Nigerian, and a very senior elder of Nigeria. He died at the age of 99. Very blessed. I know Professor Chike Edozian in 1985 when he was appointed chairman of the National Institute for Medical Research, Yaba. That time I was the secretary of the institute, and he was my chairman as a chairman of the governing board. I knew him. That time he used to come from America just for the board meetings. We used to go to airport to receive him, make sure we put him in a nice accommodation. After the meeting, we escorted him to the airport, back to America. He was a tribalized Nigerian, nationalist, because I remember one incident. I was among the very, very few people from this part of the country in Lagos that time. Very, very few of us, not more than 5 or 6 of us. And I happened to be the secretary. A conspiracy was made against me to ensure that I was ousted from that institute for reasons that were not justified. I remember during the board meeting on my case, the man stood by me, stood by the truth. He insisted that there must be, I could not just be removed like that without any concrete evidence. And because there was no concrete evidence, I remained the secretary up to 1989 when I decided to retire from public civil service. I never knew about him until that time, but he knew Nigeria very well. He told me stories that I even never knew about even northern Nigeria. And I'm sure people of such nature normally have got special tributes, because to be a professor as far back as 1961, 62, at that time of medicine, and to continue to live until you are 99, despite the turbulence of leaving Nigeria, going to the US during the war. Even the war, he had his own idea of the war, because he left Nigeria in 1967. I don't want to go public, but I think he had his own idea, very nationalistic idea. And that's part of the reason why he left Nigeria in 1967 for the US. He remained there until he was lured back, because even the appointment of chairman was made by his brothers, who were senior officers of the public in the public service, who wanted to bring him back to Nigeria. So he came back, and eventually he served Nigeria and lived as Asaba or Asaba, leader of his people, very much loved by his people, very much respected by his people, until his days a few days ago. So I want to pay my tribute to our father, Professor Chike Edozian, and pray that he has eternal rest. And I want to also condole his family, members of his council, the people of Asaba, and indeed the people of Delta State and Nigeria as a whole, over the demise of this great gentleman. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Ome.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name remains Senator Victor Ume, OFR. I represent the good people of Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, Senator Ned Nwoko had captured so much about this great man that transited. But I stand up to contribute, to pay respect to this Iroko. Apart from his being a great professor of medicine, I want to say that he was a very respected traditional ruler. After his sojourn across the globe, he returned to Nigeria and still accepted to ascend the throne of Asaba. That kept him in Asaba for a long time. And during the period of his reign, I was able to encounter him about 2 or 3 times in his palace. Professor Chike Edozian exuded great passion for the progress of Nigeria as a country. He was also a man who was very eager to see that peace reigned in his domain and around the communities within Delta and across the Niger, because he believed so conscientiously that peace is a very cardinal requirement for development. He ensured that peace reigned, and he was involved in a lot of social cultural exchanges in this country, because Asaba is very rich in cultural traditions. So as the Asaba of Asaba, he brought dignity to the royalty and the culture of his people and our own people by extension. So he was a man that we all respected. At any time there was anything to resolve, be it even in Ohaneze, he will get involved to mediate between warring factions and bring people together. So God was very generous to him. He gave him long life. God knew why he left him to be up to 99 years, so that his special qualities and attributes will be harnessed by this country. As one of the doings of the Edosian family, the Edosian family was an academic family. His older brother, Professor John Edosian, was a professor of economics. And with his exit, we are losing men that we have been looking up to for guidance and direction in this country. So we deeply mourn him. We shall miss him because he was a repository of knowledge, not only in his academic life, but even on cultural things. You will always go to him and he will give you historical perspectives to a lot of things that have happened in this country. So I joined Senator Ned Nwoko to ask that we observe a minute silence for him. Senator Gojo has given his other side. He was a man who stood for justice. He was highly detribalized because he was exposed very early to Western education. So he knew what justice meant. And he knew what it will cost to hurt somebody with injustice. That was why I was happy to hear from him that he stood by him. You know, when they tried to put studs on his way, he made sure he saved Danjuma Goje as a public servant. So that was the man he was. Anything you brought before him, he would dispassionately look at it and follow the truth and where justice lied, and he will give his ruling. So I will miss him at 99. We pray that such people should be left to live to be up to 99 and beyond. So I pray that his soul will rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Distinguished Senator Neda Memaso.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Neda Imasuen from Edo South Senatorial District. I stand to also lend my voice and sympathy for the loss of our dear king who passed on recently. I do not know him personally, but he's a public figure, and his achievement is not lost to any one of us here. But as somebody from Benin Kingdom, understanding the filial relationship between the Beninese and Asaba and that whole enclave, I stand to also join my colleague, Senator Ned Nwoko, to pay honor and tribute to this man whose achievement towers above almost everyone in recent times. He has, through the testimony of some of our colleagues here, his personality and character is such that we need to emulate, and we hope that the life he lived will be such that we all can take a leaf from and live such a good lives ourselves. And so on behalf of myself, the good people of Edo South Senatorial District, I pay my condolences to the family of the revered king who passed on, and my brother here, Senator Ned Nwoko. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, distinguished colleagues, let me thank distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko for bringing this to the fore, and to say that though I did not have personal contact with the late Asagba of Asagba, Professor Edozian, his name was a household name in Nigeria. I recall many years ago, he served the country even up to the level of permanent secretary in the then Ministry of Petroleum Resources. So when he accepted to ascend the throne of his forefathers, people were surprised. As such an obeying man, internationally exposed and all that, what was he going to do in the traditional stew? But he held his ground and held the throne with candor, and was one of the most respected traditional fathers in the country. We will join you to mourn him, and we also we thank God that God rewarded him with long life to get to in the next 3-4 months. He would have reached the age of 100 years. So he died at the age of 99 plus, and very few people can make that. So our prayer is that we offer sincere services to our dear nation and remain detribalized, as Senator Goje said, and think of Nigeria instead of ourselves, and be our brothers' keepers, that God should also enable us to live long, and then devoid of hatred in our hearts and love for humanity. So I join you to say, may his soul rest in perfect peace. So we will now go into the prayer by observing a minute silence in honor of this great icon who has departed to be among the ancestors. Can we rise? The soul of Professor Joseph Chike Edozian, the Asaba of Asaba, rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill on Chartered Institute of Digital Forensics of Nigeria, Bill 2024 HB 138. Mr. President, standing in my name, Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the first title of this House bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Digital Forensics of Nigeria Bill 2024, HB 138, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Chartered Institute of Digital Forensics of Nigeria Bill 2024, HB 138, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of the Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, HB 626, standing in my name. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2023, HB 626, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, HB 626, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third business of the day is the presentation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2023, SB 307, standing in the name of distinguished Senator Khalid Ibrahim Mustafa, representing Kaduna North. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 307, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, Alteration Bill 2023, SB 2024, SB 307, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the National Hajj Commission Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 344, standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abbas Aminu Iya, representing Adamawa Central. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Hajj Commission Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 344, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Hajj Commission Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 344, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Adeola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Ogun West, on the Federal University of Technology, Ilaro Establishment Bill 2024, SB 345. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Technology, Ilaro Establishment Bill 2024, SB 345, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal University of Technology, Ilaro Establishment Bill 2024, SB 345, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Gas and Petroleum Resources Downstream on the screening of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladapo for appointment as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board. Distinguished senators will recall that the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 30th January 2024. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Jarigbe Agom Jarigbe, Chairman of the committee,
to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Jaribe.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Jarek Bagom Jarikbe. I represent the good people of Cross River North. I hereby move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Gas and Petroleum Resources downstream on the confirmation of the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladopo for appointment as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund. Mr. President, with your permission, I'll move forward to lay the report.
Proceed to lay the report. You have the floor.
Yes. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I will go straight to the recommendation of the committee. The Joint Committee on Gas and Petroleum Resources Downstream, having screened and satisfied itself that the nominee has the qualifications, expertise, experience, and exposure expected of an occupant of such a demanding office, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladopo as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund.
Yes. Distinguished Senator Echocho. Sorry. Distinguished Senator Isa Jibril.
Either, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, very distinguished colleagues, I am Isa Jibrin, representing Kogi East. I rise to support the report just read by Senator Jarigbe, that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladapo for appointment as Executive Director, Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board, having met all the requirements prescribed by the law. I so submit.
In the absence of further contributions, the Senate leader, you may wish to move for us to resolve into committee of the whole to consider the report.
Well, I so move, Mr. President.
So, distinguished Senator Abamoro, you may so second.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate do resolve into the committee of the whole to consider the report. I so second.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Resolve into the committee of the whole. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladipo for appointment as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I stand to move that the Senate reverts to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so move, sir.
Distinguished Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues. I second the motion that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the Senate do revert to the plenary to report progress. Those in favor of the motion say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the committees on gas and petroleum resources upstream, on petroleum resources downstream, the committees on gas separately, and then the committee on downstream jointly with the committee on gas. Screening Mr. President nominee for appointment as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board, and approved the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladipo as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladipo for appointment as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board? Those in favor of the confirmation say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mr. Adama Oluwole Oladipo is hereby confirmed as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Customs, Excise and Tariffs on the 2024 budget of the Nigerian Customs Service. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Jibril Issa to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee. I so move.
Well, distinguished Senator, decide. Is it Issa Jibril or Jibril Issa? But please go ahead.
Okay. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, very distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Customs, Excise and Tariffs on the 2024 budget of the Nigerian Customs Service. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Karimi.
Thank you, my Senate President. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Custom and Exercise Committee on the 2024 budget. Thank you.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Senator Isajibun, you may proceed now to lay your report. You have the floor.
Okay, sir. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, very distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to start with the review of the 2023 budget performance of the Nigerian Customs Services. The approved revenue target for the year 2023 was 3.669 trillion naira, comprising of 2.432 trillion for Federation, 414.51 billion naira for non-federation, and 822.67 billion naira for value-added tax on imports. The service generated a total revenue of 3.207 trillion, that is about 87.3% of the set target. The shortfall of about 12.62% is attributable to the following. One, revenue loss due to import duty exemption certificates, drop in cargo importation, a reduction in the number of assessed single goods declaration, the huge import of goods under Chapter 99 of the CET, that is Common External Tariffs, then the suspension of excise policies on carbonated drinks, telecommunications charges, single-use plastics, and green tax all affected the excise collection within the period. Then on the expenditure performance of the Customs Services for 2023, the service had an approved expenditure budget of 432.93 billion for the year 2023, out of which about 200.45 billion was expended. As follows: personnel cost, 94.18 billion, overhead cost, 33.51 billion, capital cost, 44.94 billion, summing up to 172.63 billion. Now to the 2024 budget proposal. There are three basic assumptions. One has to do with the personnel cost, the other ones have to do with overhead cost, and the last has to do with the capital cost. With respect to the personnel cost, there are two major assumptions there. One, that the personnel cost is based on the proposed revised Nigeria Customs Service salary structure, and that the nominal role used in computing the personnel cost is based on the establishment number of 17,837 and the proposed recruitment of additional 1,601 cadets for 2024 fiscal year. With respect to the overhead cost, the major assumption there is that there will be provision for training and retraining of officers and men of the service. There's also going to be a provision for the combating of smuggling activities within and around the nation's borders and ports. Then, the third provision, key provision there, has to do with the establishment of the payment of monetized benefits to retired controllers and above, and consul package in lieu of retirement for other ranks after retirement as provided in the Nigerian Customs Service Condition of Service. With respect to the capital expenditure, the key assumption there is that the capital cost estimates makes provision for the completion of the Nigeria Customs Service new corporate headquarters. Then there are various other expenses that revolves around construction, renovation of the new customs cantonment, warehouses, barracks, housing accommodation, and others. There is also provision for purchase of helicopter to facilitate the activities of the Nigerian Customs Services. Then, now let me go to 5.2, which is the summary of the revenue projection for 2024. There are three key parameters there. The first one has to do with the Federation account, where about 2,868,000,000 2,868,871,144,525.57 is expected. Then from by way of federation account. Then the federation account levies, we're expecting about 554 billion, 555 million, 97,649.80. So total federation account is expected to be 3,423 billion, 426 million, 212,175.37. The total of the revenue expected from import VAT is about 1.1 trillion. The grand total is about 5 trillion, 79 billion, 69 million, 866,085 naira 50 kobo. For the expected income for 2024, the service proposed the budget expenditure of 706.43 billion for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, which will be sourced from the following items: 4% free on board, that is FOB for 2024, amounting to about 623 billion, 2% VAT shares of Nigerian Customs Service, amounting to about 22 billion, funds for ongoing capital projects already accrued but yet to be utilized, it's about 60.58 billion. Total 706.43 billion. Now the expenditure for the year is expected. The proposed expenditure for the year is for the year 2024 is as follows: personnel cost about 225.9 billion, overhead cost 111.76 billion, capital cost both ongoing and new projects will amount to about 148.42 billion plus 222.26 billion. Total about 706.43 billion. Now, the key strategies that Nigeria Customs Services has earmarked to actualize the revenue target are as follows. One, the service hopes on timely rollout of the 2024 fiscal policy measures to enable it commence implementation promptly. The National Single Window project that has lingered all these past years is still being pursued for better process harmonization and standardization and enhanced revenue generation. The introduction of VREG and VIN valuation application has huge potential of reducing undervaluation and vehicle tax aversion, thereby improving revenue collection. The service intends to provide flexible windows for the perfection of illegally imported vehicles. This is to ensure the collection of expected import duties and 25% penalty charge from such category of transactions, which will enable the government to realize more revenues. The service is looking forward to the area of cargo tracking in collaboration with relevant government agencies, Shippers Council in particular, for effective monitoring of cargoes and vessels. The conjunction of the nation's ports is proposed towards efficient and effective port operation that is capable of yielding more income. Then the service anti-smuggling campaign, using all required operational guides as provided within the confines of customs laws, will be intensified. This is to ensure that illicit trade that creates fear for revenue leakages as well as economic sabotage are reduced to the barest minimum. Capacity building through training and recruitment will be prioritized. This will promote efficiency, intelligence gathering, manpower reinforcement, and most importantly, more revenue generation. Recommendation. The committee hereby recommends as follows: that the total revenue collection of 5 trillion, 79 billion, 69 million, 866,085.5 kobo only be approved for 2024 financial year, and that the expenditure of 706 billion, 434 million, 216,877.66 naira be equally approved for the 2024 financial year. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the members of the committee, I thank the leadership and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. I so submit.
Just check 5.5. The last sentence. Have you seen it? I just observed, I was wondering where you mentioned tax, tax aversion. Should it be, I don't know whether it's a terminology. That should be. Clark, I showed it to you. Yeah, I've seen it. There is 7 of 9. That last sentence was undervaluation and vehicle tax aversion. Is it a? I thought it should have been evasion. So you want us to correct it? Okay. Okay, please. No, it's a grammatical error because the aversion is correct in English also. So evasion is what should have been there. So it's a grammatical error, not typographical error. So Clark, please correct that. Tax evasion. DSP.
Honorable Jibrin cannot note. Mr. President, let me commend the committee for a job well done. The packaging of the report is well put together and highly professional. But that said, I want to draw attention to the fact that we are really in a time that revenue is so important to our nation. We need more revenue to come in so that we can be able to fund our budget. Very, very important. Yes, I have confidence in the new leadership in the Customs Service. But I really want to, I just want to ask the chairman, even though reasons were given for non-budget, the performance of the revenue projection is not the way we had wanted it to be in 2003. Obviously, because of the reasons that were given as stated in the report. But I just want to ask, have you taken actions to make sure that all the reasons given, those that can be avoided, are there mechanisms that have been put in place to make sure that we do not go like the way we went in 2023 in the revenue performance, so that we'll not be able to have anything less than 100%. Have you taken every action? Has everything been done so that we can achieve 100% budget, revenue performance? Our revenue projection can be actualized 100%, because we need that. It's a period we need that to be done. And I'm sure by the sound leadership we have in the custom committee, because the chairman is someone that we know is upright, someone that is doing, and all the members are people that have shown capacity in executing functions that have been given to them by this August Senate. Mr. Chairman, please assure us please, that there will be full budget, revenue projection performance that will be able to meet our target, even exceed our target. And we want that assurance from you, Mr. Chairman.
The senators will ask questions, you just note them down. Then after you answer. But I can ask just 2 questions. The first is, did you follow the model that we use for 2024 budget, that for the purposes of expeditious passage, there should be joint sitting of both the House of Representatives and the Senate, so that one report will be presented and we can move forward. That was what we did for Mr. President's budget in order to shorten the time. That was how we succeeded in bringing the 2024 budget into being. Did your committee on customs, sit jointly with the committee on customs in the House of Representatives to ensure that the report is one? And so there may not be any need for harmonization or concurrence. That's one question. The second question is that your committee, is it made up of only the chairman and then the clerk? Because I've not seen signatures of other committee members. The one you sent to me, I haven't seen. Clerk, come and check. See this. This is all I have. Where is that? No, the signature should be continuous. Am I right? The signature should be continuous with the report. As soon as we have the signature of the... But what you have is a different page after NCA's abbreviations and all that. You now go and have a different... So it didn't come together with the report. Do you understand what I'm asking? No, I'm saying if you have signed this document, it will come together. After that, to the chairman, the clerk, all other signatories will follow. But if you open it, you'll go and see abbreviations and all that. Signatories are finished. Then you now go and see endorsement, something on the, it's a different item entirely in terms of writing. So it should have been continuous. Those who endorse should, the Senator, do you see what I'm talking about? Approach. It's noted. Senator Abiru.
Thank you, Mr. President. And my distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent Lagos East. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, first, I would like to commend the chairman of the committee for this well-documented report. But I would like to, at the same time, I would like to just seek clarification around three areas. One, Mr. Chairman of the committee, now you, in this report, I think that I'm a bit concerned about the planned expenditure for 2024. I'm very, very concerned. And I'll tell you why. Yes, I know that the revenues of the customs is based on a percentage of their collections or the expenditure. Let me put it that way. The expenditure of the customs is based on a percentage of their revenue. But I think that for us as Senate, I think we need to really scrutinize the utilization of the revenues that accrue to the customs for their expenditure. And what am I trying to say? Your report on page 3 shows that the total expenditure of the customs in 2023 was a total of 172 billion. 172 billion. Now, what you are projecting for 2024 is almost 706 billion, 706. And we know the times that we live in this country. Now, the breakdown of that 706 billion is broken down as follows. Personnel cost is 226 billion. In the year that we are, in the prior year, personnel cost was just 94 billion. I don't know what is the basis of this massive jump from 94 to 226 billion. That's one. Your overhead cost as well, 33.5 billion. 33.5 billion in 2023. In 2024, you are projecting 112 billion. These are astronomical increases. And capital cost, 44.94 billion. You are projecting 368 billion for them. Are we spending because, they have access to revenue that is derived from, the entire federation? I think for me, I think that this is excessive. We should really scrutinize the basis of all the planned expenditure for 2024. I think it's important and it's in the interest of all of us, because this is a time when we require a lot of revenue to come into the central purse. So don't let us assume that because you have the prerogative to take a fraction or a percentage of total revenue of the federation, you should just apply it as you wish. I think that this requires for proper scrutiny. That is one. Now, I think we should also challenge the customs. If they are even going to spend in this manner, then they should be aggressive in getting more revenues from us. Because the revenue projection, to me, is very dismal to the kind of expenditure appetite they want to exhibit in 2024. That is the second question. The third question will be that we also know that this projection will have been based on the exchange rate when it was. Yes, as I was saying, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I also believe that this projection will have been based on the exchange rate, because all of this revenue would derive from importation and all of that. And it will have been based on an exchange rate of about 800 naira. Today, we know the reality that exchange rate is about 1,400 naira. Now, are we saying that when that reality is done, they will still take the same 4%, which, we know that, of course, it will be higher than the figure that they have also projected. So for me, and in closing, I think that perhaps it's about time we should actually look at this concept of agencies like this, taking a share of a fraction or a share of total revenue collected in their care as a means of planning their expenditure. Because we have a lot of other agencies of government, either in health, education, that requires more money. And this is just one agency that is looking like a super agency, and they are spending as the money comes in. I think this calls for serious scrutiny. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleague. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Wadada.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Ahmed Wadada Aliyu Sarkin Yakin Kefi. I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me first of all commend the good work done by this committee led by Senator Ichocho. But having done that, I just have one or two questions, which the issues are not very clear to me. On page 6 of 9, Federation account levies. On wheat flour, it's 2,184,120 naira 78 kobo. and 100% rice levy, 100% cigarette levy. Cigarette levy is 2,388,281,024 naira 65 kobo. Mr. Chairman, I really want to know at what, or the percentage or the basis for which these levies are as low and as high as the cases are. That of wheat flour is only 2 million naira. If it is only 2 million naira, at what percentage and the quantity of wheat flour to be brought in? Excuse me, please. I would like to know, the Senate needs to know.
Is that Mustafa Khalid?
Yes, no, his phone was distracting me. He was on the phone, unfortunately.
But we always advise that nobody should bring phone into the chambers so that we can have sitting without disturbance. Because it's not a market square.
Because, like I said, for the levies to be as high and as low as the cases are, we really need to know the basis for which the levy, Federation account levy on wheat flour is only 2 million naira. 2.1 million actually. What is the basis? What is the percentage that determines or makes it to be what it is? And that of cigarette levy is 2.3 billion naira. 2.3 billion naira. What then is the percentage and the quantity of cigarettes to be imported into the country that makes the levy to be as high as 2.something billion naira? Mr. Chairman, for now, distinguished colleagues, for now, those are my two questions, and then as others will follow. No, I won't continue.
Distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin, this is actually not something that the Senate wants to waste time on, because a budget is just an estimate. Like Senator Warada pointed out, he said, why do you put 2 million? It may even end up being 200,000, depending on if things are imported and if charges are placed. So it's just an estimate. So we are hoping that they are based on the right indices. That's what. So he wants you to find out whether they are based on the right indices. But in my view, it's even better to underestimate. It's better to underestimate than to overestimate. And at the end, you dash the hope of the government. So please just answer those few questions so we can move.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I want to start with Mr. President, observation about the joint sitting. Yes, we had a joint sitting, but it was not the full two houses. We had preliminary discussions with the management of the customs services, and thereafter we agreed that we should go and make our presentations to the various, to the House of Rep and then to the Senate, respectively. The House of Rep had their own presentation last week, and they've since gotten an approval. We've harmonized the figures.
So the report is the same?
The report is the same.
So you had the joint sitting?
We had the joint sitting.
Oh, fantastic. Well done. Well done. So
Thank
go
you.
on.
Thank you very much. Then, having said that, the observation to respect to the list of members, the signatory list, will ensure that as subsequent presentations, it will be done exactly the way you have presented it. Then, with respect to the DSP's observation about the strategies, okay, very good. I want to, sorry, can I? Okay, yeah, you see, the performance of the shortfall in the expected revenue target of 2023 is attributable to various reasons. Those reasons, some of them have to do with the infrastructural deficit within the customs services. And that is one of the issues that is going to be addressed with the 2024 budget. especially from the capital expenditure. Okay? Then the issue of staff remuneration is very, very critical, because as it is today, you need to encourage the staff to give in their best, so that as much as possible, leakages can be avoided. Then the issue of planned expenditures for 2024 that Senator Abirudi said that we need to scrutinize. Yes, we did scrutinize, and we realized that the custom services need all that they've indicated here for optimal performance. Okay? Their inability to meet their revenue target in 2023 was because some of the equipment they needed were not just available. The 2024 budget is going to address that infrastructural deficit for optimal performance. And then the issue of the one raised by Wadada, has even gone up. So I don't know. In his absence, where are you, Wadada? You are there. The SP has graciously replied you. So I thank you very much. So on that note, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I thank you very much for your rapt attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, let's look at the recommendations. The committee hereby recommends as follows: that the total revenue collection of 5,79,866,085 naira 50 kobo be approved for 2024 financial year. Will the Senate approve recommendation A? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation B, that the expenditure of 706 billion, is it trillion? Billion. I said billion. I said billion. Huh? Oh, okay, the glasses, the deceiving. Because if I mention 706 trillion, it means that I have malaria. So 706 billion, 434 million, 216 thousand 877 naira 66 kobo be equally approved for 2024 financial year. Will the Senate approve recommendation B? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank the chairman of this committee, distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin, and the members for a job well done, and particularly commend you for following the templates established by the chambers of the House of Representatives and the Senate to ensure expeditious passage of the 2024 budget estimates. And I thank you for doing justice to this, and I pray that Customs will be able to even surpass the estimated revenue that they are put forward today. So congratulations to you and all members of your committee. Well done. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third order of the day. The microphone is picking up. The third order of the day is the second reading of the Northwest Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 90. Senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 26 September 2023. Mr. President, you may wish to invite His Excellency, distinguished Senator Barau Jibril, to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
the massive growth and activity of the massive growth and activity of the agricultural sector, evidence with endless groundnut and cotton production, have given way, while growth of local industries like textile and leather production has been stalled. It should be noted that the zone has the highest population of people among the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. The youth consists of 70% of the population of people of the zone. The sad fact is that the majority of these youths are uneducated in a region that has the highest out-of-school children in the country. The establishment of this commission shall help to address this problem by educating these youth so as to develop the needed human capital to drive the developmental needs of the region in particular and Nigeria in general. This youth shall be assets to Nigeria rather than liabilities. The enactment of this bill will help to rebuild the Northwest Zone and shall provide opportunity for the people of the zone to display their talents and contribute immensely to the development of this country. Mr. President, in line with Order 76, 3 of our standing orders, the financial compendium for the establishment of this commission is hereby attached. I thereby urge my colleagues to support this bill for the second reading. When you develop Northwest, you are developing the entire country. You are developing the entirety of our nation. Mr. President, I submit.
So, I don't have more details. Will the establishment of the Northwest Development Commission, will it take away the efforts of the states of Northwest, or the resources of all the states to be joined together and given to this commission to develop the commission? Or will it also stop? No, I'm asking, I want to know.
Mr. President, I want one of our elders in Northwest, and indeed entire Nigeria.
Will the state still exist?
To answer the question.
Will the state still exist? Will the state still exist?
Mr. President, sir.
Or all the resources that ought to go to the states will go to the commission?
Mr. President, sir.
Because I think the commission is much more powerful than the states.
Mr. President, sir, I want one of the elders in Northwest, and indeed one of the elders.
The Secretary Senator, I'm about to leave Deputy Senate President. Say what you want to say.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to lend my voice in support of the bill that is proposed for the establishment of the Northwest Development Commission. Mr. President, in doing so, I want to say that we are not unaware of the advocacy by some commentators on the need to unbundle the responsibilities of the federal government and diversify in the area of commitment and development of the country. Mr. President, we are also aware that only recently the Northeast Development Commission was established to cushion the effects of the devastating destruction of lives and property in the Northeast. As a result, Mr. President, it has become imperative that if we have to develop through the aggregation of developmental efforts from the states and the zones, then Nigeria has a need to accommodate these zones as developmental centers And that is what this bill seeks to achieve. And so, Mr. President, as the world continues to modernize, there is an imperative need for all of us to agree that we must establish centers of development, the aggregation of which will lead to the overall development of the country. And so, Mr. President, coupled with the devastating effect of armed banditry and destruction occasioned, with unique peculiarities, I think it is necessary that we establish these development centers as been advocated by the DSP to accommodate the developmental needs of our various zones. I so submit and support, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Aliro.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Muhammad Adamu Aliru, representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to give support to this very important bill for two reasons. The Northwest geopolitical zone has suffered a lot of devastation, a lot of destruction due to the activities of Boko Haram and also the bandits. The Northwest had the largest number of out-of-school children. In fact, only yesterday, I saw the Minister of Education addressing the members of the House of Representatives on the need to give attention to out-of-school children in Nigeria that numbered up to about 20 million. Mr. President, this is the only country in the world where we have 20 million people out of school. We can't afford this. And we have the capacity, Mr. President, to put these children into schools so that we can develop their talents, they can contribute their quota to the development of their country. Mr. President, to answer your question, if the Northwest Development Commission is created, it is not going to affect whatever the state governments are doing. Instead, it's just going to complement their developmental efforts. They will exist side by side with the state government in order to develop the region. In fact, it will serve as a catalyst. It will accelerate the development of the zone. We have seen it in the Northwest Northeast Development Commission, where a number of projects have been taken by the Northeast Development Commission, and it has helped tremendously in the development of the Northeast, and it has restored peace and stability relatively in that area. Mr. President, the Northwest Development Commission needs support of the federal government. As the mover of the bill, or the sponsor of the bill said, it has the largest number of population in the whole country, close to about 70 million people. And right now, Mr. President, so many industries are moving out of the Northwest geopolitical zone because of insecurity and instability. And I remember in Kano alone, we have close to about 250 factories that move out of Kano. In Kaduna, we have close to about 120. In Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, we have close to about 200. So there is mass exodus of investors out of the zone to other zones, simply because of instability, insecurity. And we need to establish this commission in order to take care of the development in the zone. Mr. President, I'm sure my colleagues will not object to the establishment of this commission. The only thing the Deputy Senate President has not mentioned is the source of funding. And the source of funding normally is attached to the bill, and I will suggest that 1% of whatever comes into the Federation account should be used for the funding of the Northwest geopolitical zone, plus the contribution of the states to the Commission. And perhaps maybe banks that are operating in the zone should also contribute in funding the Commission. I'm sure other senators from the zone will also contribute and suggest ways on how we can contribute to the funding of this very important commission. I so move, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Arero. I think the experience came to bear. That's what I was looking for. The sources of funding, you just hit it on the head. It's not just the state governments, federal government will contribute, state governments will contribute, the local governments will contribute,
Correct.
the businesses that are within the Northeast will contribute, and then even the banks that are operating there. But we must also set out criteria for them, templates, one of which you mentioned, security and development of the youth, the youthful population. If we do that, then we can have parameters to judge them after a year or two of their existence if it is passed by these hollow chambers. Senator Ifeanyi.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then I want to make a remark on this important motion ably raised by the Deputy Senate President. Mr. President, I want to draw attention of my colleagues to this motion on issues of fairness and equity. I also want to draw the attention why I have no issue with the motion in supporting the motion, supporting the bill, whatever. The most important thing is to draw the attention of this hollow chamber that during the 9th Senate, a motion and bill was presented for Southeast Development Commission, and it was totally thrown out. Why I'm saying this is that I want my colleagues to be very, very fair when we deal with regional development. And then I think 10th Senate, under your able leadership, Mr. President, while we continue to support that the development of Northwest is very, very important, I want to draw the attention of my colleagues that our bill for Southeast Development Commission will be coming soon. And I want to have, at the same time, equity and fairness to it. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm surprised that the Southeast Development Commission bill was thrown out by the 9th Senate.
It was.
I don't think so.
It was.
It was.
It was.
It was.
It was. It was, Mr. President.
Mr. President, sir, I think he's not in tune with what is happening as you speak. As you speak, let him look at his other paper. You have Southeast Development Commission first reading, bill that has been brought from the House of Reps for concurrence. So it has been brought from the House of Reps for concurrence. Once we finish with the bill here, it will go to the President for his assent. So your bill has even gone far, very, very far. And you don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
You don't know.
No, Mr.
It
President.
has been passed in the House of Reps.
So it's
He's
okay.
now here.
I was going to point that out. Thank you for the information. So what it means is that your bill,
we are going to support it.
Your bill has even gone very far, and your colleagues here are already eager to see through the concurrence. And then you now proceed for Mr. President's assent.
Mr. President, I don't have objection to it, but I know what we went through for this bill. But I thank my colleague that is moving. I thank my police that is moving. But I know what has been happening on this
Don't. If you notice,
I withdraw my statement, Mr. President.
Yes, well, thank you for withdrawing your statement. If you notice, the distinguished Senator Abaribe did not say a word. Yes. Because he's aware that there is accelerated movement to ensure the development of the Southeast. And everybody is concerned about the activities there. Please don't fall.
I won't fall.
Distinguished Senator Benga Daniel, this is very straightforward. The Northwest is very large. The youthful population very much. The need for development very clear, and insecurity will be minimized if more development enters there, and educational facilities are made more available. So for us, development anywhere in this country is development everywhere. So I'm not lobbying you to accept. I will still put the question. But my opinion is that I'm a lover of development. So I hope distinguished Senator Benga Daniels is going to concur with the Senate President. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name once again is Benga Daniel, representing Ogun East Senatorial District. I rise in solidarity to support this bill, very important bill, on the need for the establishment of the Northwest Development Commission. Permit me first and foremost to say something in our dialect. In Yoruba language, they call it Irorun Igini Irorianye. If you permit me to quickly translate that, it simply means that the tree can only be comfortable when the bird perching on the tree is comfortable, and vice versa. There is no doubt in our mind that the Northwest is a very, very important component of our state, the state of Nigeria. And without doubt, we know the 3 Ks, the most populous states in Nigeria belongs to the Northwest. Without any doubt, therefore, on account of population alone, it is clear that we need to bend over backward and encourage anything that can bring further development to this important region. It is on this note that I therefore want to support all my other colleagues and concur with the position of the Senate President that the Northwest Development Commission bill be so supported. Thank you very much.
Speak now.
I've been following you should send something over to us.
Anything for your voice? Services. Why are they making noise yesterday? Now because of that, people should be The only correct chairman. Correct chairman. And I'm with you. I'm with you. I am. Yes.
We need to order.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm sending it now. I don't know what I have in my system.
So I can place order next week.
I'm doing it now.
But I'm the one buying it. I'm supposed to send it to my own account.
See the
No,
Esther.
this one is Esther's own. I mean the place order.
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, yes. Let me thank the distinguished Deputy Senate President for sponsoring this bill, and thank all our distinguished senators for their contributions. Those in favor, that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Northwest Development Commission in the Federal Republic of Nigeria to act as a catalyst to develop the commercial and industrial potentials of the Northwest, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation for the agricultural and industrial development of the Northwest and any other related educational backwardness, as well as security and development challenges and other connected matters 2024. Second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Northwest Development Commission in the Federal Republic of Nigeria to act as a catalyst to develop the commercial and industrial potentials of the Northwest, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the federal government for the agriculture and industrial development of the Northwest and any other related educational backwardness, as well as security and development challenges and other matters connected therewith. 2024. Second reading. This bill is now referred to the Committee on Special Duties for further action. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the National Youth Service Corps Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2024, SB 260. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 14 November 2023. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Adara Modu Adeyemi Raphael to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Leader of the Senate.
Okay, Mr. President, very eminently distinguished colleagues, this bill is
Point of order.
Point of order? You said? Oh well, this is in principle. This is the principles of the general. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, this is like a commuter bill. And it's, yes. And I will crave the indulgence of distinguished senators that this bill already scaled all the crucibles of legislative actions at the 9th Assembly, both at the House of Representatives and that of the Senate. Unfortunately, due to the paucity of time, the assent of Mr. President could not be gotten before the expiration of the 9th Assembly. And because of the genuineness and then the very importance of this bill, we have to recommit it. And before I go further, we have been talking about kinetic situation of our Nigerian security. And for that kinetic not to reactivate or to activate the inertial situation, then definitely this bill is pertinently to be considered by distinguished senators and then let it pass. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and once again, for the avoidance of identity piracy, I am Senator Yemi Adaramodu. I represent Ekiti South Central District, and I'm from Ekiti State. Once again, since the early years, let me deal with the principles first, my minority leader. Since the early years of the establishment of the National Youth Service Corps, which was established May 1973, that's 51 years ago. This is going to be the first attempt at making sure that the act that established the National Youth Service Corps is dealt with to ensure and afford Nigerians the benefit of why the NYC was established. The management of the scheme has not only trained and equipped and empowered corps members enrolled under the scheme, but have instilled patriotism and the spirit of nationalism in corps members since then. The decision to establish the National Youth Service Corps Trust Fund was conceived by some of the scheme's stakeholders, which include the 36 state governments and FCT administration. The idea to establish the trust fund was also strongly supported by civil society organizations, National Association of Nigerian Students, and the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, the ALGON. The objectives, therefore, are to establish a National Youth Service Corps Trust Fund, to control a special fund established under this section, which is Section 3 of this bill, provide sustainable sources of funds for the National Youth Service Corps funds, to train and retrain of corps members under the NYSC, to provide skill acquisition and provide start-up capital for corps members, to develop camps and NYSC formations and all other facilities, and to improve the general welfare of corps members and personnel of NYSC. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the establishment of NYSC Trust Fund, we have a direct answer to the asked rhetorical question, after NYSC, what next? This is because in 2012, NYSC established the Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development, which we call the SAID, to close the gap in unemployment among Nigerian graduates by building the capacity of corps members to gain the acquired skills that beat the challenges of unemployment. Mr. President, colleagues, if and when this bill is signed into law, these young graduates, having acquired skills and entrepreneurial development skill on that side, would have the resources to start up their own businesses and become business owners. In this way, we will be achieving greater feats in empowering our young graduates for self-employment and wealth creation. The bill consists of 26 clauses, schedule, committees, and miscellaneous of the trust fund. Mr. President, my very esteemed colleagues, we all know that the osmotic causative of unemployment in Nigeria among youth has increased the wave of armed robbery, prostitution, drug trafficking, kidnapping, terror threats, and ongoing abductions of Nigerians with reckless abandon. I therefore urge all my colleagues to give this bill an accelerated hearing and passage, as it would make a significant impact in reducing unemployment among the Nigerian youth. And pertinently to note that this bill is going to be a Happy New Year bill to Nigerian youth. And the NYC that I've been on, the Committee of Youth Development visit to some of these camps will reveal a very parallel situation of the camps. Today, the camps are being managed by the state government, but hardly could we find about 3 or 4, 5 camps that we can call serious camps that Nigerian youth, young adults, can dwell in and do something very meaningful. So with the passage of this bill, we will ensure that our young adults that we are churning out every year, almost every month, because we have several thousands. This year, not less than 400,000 young graduates of Nigerian descent will be passing out to go into the NYC. So when we visit these camps, the situation is very parlous, very, very indecent. And then with this bill, it's going to cure this kind of anomaly. And without regressing into unnecessary verbosity, I here want to submit and then move. Thank you, Mr. President and dear colleagues.
Dismissed Senator Nengi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I beg your understanding to speak from the seat of Mr. Mpigi. My phone is bad. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central. First and foremost, let me commend the sponsor of this bill, our own Senator Emi, for thinking out of the box. It is so important that in the last 3 decades, we have been hobnobbing about the exit of the NYC scheme. After NYC, what next? I believe the idea of a trust fund is an idea that its time has come. It is an idea that brightens the future of our young men and girls. It is a vision that this country cares about the younger people. And it is a mandate to all young men across the country that this National Assembly, this Senate in particular, cares about their welfare, about their well-being, and about their tomorrow. For some of us, time has come to always remind ourselves that no position, no condition is permanent. We are senators today, we won't be senators all our lives. And therefore, as you are building your own household, as you are thinking about your own kids, you must also think about the totality of the kids in this country. I think this trust fund, if actually managed with a very good strategy, is a way of plugging the gaps in the areas of employment and creating hope to the hopelessness that is embedded in this country today. And I'm sure if you go through the bills, especially the summary of the bill, you understand that the sponsor of the bill intention is to make sure that we have created a future for which Nigerian youth will be rest assured that their tomorrow is guaranteed. And I believe this is some of the legislation that is required out of the Senate. These bills brightens my day, and it gives me a very rare hope that the Senate has come to make sure and making sure that every Nigerian old and young, is in the heart of senators, is in the heart of this institution. And you look at some of the major vision of this bill, that it will bring about interaction with the youth, in creating opportunities for them in terms of businesses, in terms of opportunities to do other things apart from what they have been able to read in the university. So quite a number of people are existing and surviving out of the box. It is not what you read in the university that is fundamental and cardinal. It's what you use your brain for after the passage of the university university community. So I believe this is a very good bill. I believe the sponsor should be commended. And I'm sure as we go further, the bill in the second reading is only important as to the principle of it. When a bill is read the second time, the most important thing is, does this bill ring a bell? Does it make any sense? And then the bill during the second reading, because once you take this bill and pass it to second reading, then it goes into committees. Then the committees will have a public hearing, and from there, you see the bill is penetrated in a manner that will actually comprehend what is actually needed. Even what is missing in the prior thinking of the bill that is not encapsulated here. But as the bill transits to the third reading, the bill becomes a very, very important tool for national development. And I'm sure this bill has passed that standard. And I encourage my dear colleagues to look at this bill with an open mind. It may not be perfect, but it's something that we must fund and something that we must support. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody that is opposed to this bill going for a second term? For a second reading? Is there anybody that is opposed to it?
Nobody.
If nobody is opposed to it, so why are we discussing? Is there anybody that is opposed to it?
No.
So in that case,
Now you can bring it up and
yeah, go on.
Support. Look, distinguished colleague, I have the floor. This is a very good bill, no doubt about it.
The observation.
That is, the sources of the fund should right away be indicated, because you don't establish a fund and you don't know where to source the fund. And it's a rule.
read something.
Okay, I think your observation is noted, and let's even put the question first.
Put the question.
So I want to thank distinguished colleagues for your contributions, and then of course thank the sponsor of the bill, distinguished Senator Dalamuru, and now I want to put the question. Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Youth Service Corps Trust Fund for the purpose of providing a sustainable source of funds for the National Youth Service Corps, scale acquisition, training and empowerment of corps members, training and retraining of the personnel of the National Youth Service Corps, development of camps and NYC formations and facilities therein, and for related matters 2022, 2024, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the National Youth Service Corps Trust Fund for the purpose of providing a sustainable source of funds for the National Youth Service Corps, skill acquisition, training and empowerment of corps members, training and retaining of the personnel of the National Youth Service Corps, development of camps, and NYSC formations and facilities therein and for related matters 2024. Second reading taken. And the bill is now referred to the Committee on Youth and Community Engagement for further legislative action. Leader of the Senate.
Well, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to move that we step down the only order that is left on the order paper for today to be taken on the next legislative day. This essentially is to enable us go into a quick executive session, closed session as it is, to discuss some very urgent development. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we step down the remaining item on the order paper to enable us go into a quick closed session to consider a very important matter of urgent national importance. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we go into a short closed session to discuss issue of national importance.